In today's episode, we have Miss Ginger Davis, a dedicated advocate for sickle cell disease. Ginger's passion has made a significant impact in raising awareness and supporting individuals and families affected by sickle cell disease. As the executive director for the Sickle Cell Thalassemia Patients Network, Ginger brings a wealth of expertise and first-hand experience to our conversation. Join us as we delve into Ginger's inspiring journey, her advocacy work, and the invaluable insights she offers on living with and combating the effects of sickle cell disease. Living your life, please help me welcome Miss Ginger Davis. How you doing, Miss Ginger?
I am doing wonderful. I'm glad to be here with you today, and one of my favorite people, Dr. Corey Hebert. How you doing?
Okay, wait a minute. Wait, it took
Hi,
a turn.
Ginger.
No. That's not the same high I got.
Hi, Ginger. And look, let me tell y'all, she's no Mary Ann.
I promise you.
She's a real Ginger. She's a real Ginger.
I see that.
We get in a lot of trouble together all the time. Yeah.
Hey, can I just ask y'all something before we start the whole interview?
Sure.
Yeah. Are y'all dating? That would sound like.
Not without his wife's approval and his daughter. I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know. It wouldn't sound like.
But we do have a special relationship.
Yes, I understand.
We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that.
You know what? And that's what it's about, man. Thank you so much for coming on, Ginger, because this is very important. This is what we do over here. We have fun. We tell these stories. We want people in our community to understand, like, hey, man, this is a great way to find out a bunch of information. Dr. Hebert is like my dude.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I can't believe I've been paired with a guy that's this crazy as me. I just can't get over that. That's what I love about him, man. Like, he's not your regular doctor.
He's working out date.
Yeah, man. So, so Ginger, you here? Can you tell us how you got started in your advocacy? How did you start doing this for people with sickle cell disease? What happened?
Ooh, the first time I spoke up as an advocate for sickle cell disease, I was 3 years old. I remember it very, very clearly. And I happened to be in the hospital, and there was, my childhood friend. She was this is where I met her first. The two of them. One unfortunately just passed. Sharon Simmons, aka Hanifa Muhammad, and the other one is Charlotte Johnson, who's still with us. And somebody walked by and said, "Hey, look at the two monkeys in the cage." And I said, "We're not monkeys. Don't talk. We're children. Don't talk about us like that." I was 3. At the age of
3 years old. You're an activist at 3.
Activist at 3, girl. Let me tell you, and it was funny because I was very introverted, but when things like that happened, I would speak up. And I would speak up. I found myself speaking up more for other people than myself. For me, I would be non-vocal, but for other people, you would hear my voice. And at 8, I decided that I would take on the responsibility of becoming an advocate for my brother Mark Anthony, who died when our mom was 6 months pregnant with me. So he was undiagnosed, untreated, and he died in her arms. She was 6 months pregnant with me. I never got to know my brother, and I know that we would have been thick as thieves in this disease, comforting each other and having that understanding, and finding ways to drive our mother crazy, because at the time, we came up in a time where they were constantly telling us we were going to die. I heard I was going to die for the first 10 years of my life. When I passed 5, past 6, 8, which she still might die at 10, I said, "Listen, my number is not in your book. You are not my maker. You don't get to predict whether I live or die. So you can stop saying it, because you're driving my mother crazy and she's driving me crazy." And that was the last time I heard it. And it was not coming from the attendants. It was coming from the residents, because this is what they were being taught, that children with sickle cell disease don't live. But if that was the case, then there wouldn't be one person with sickle cell disease alive on the planet. There were several people in just my own pediatric ward. So apparently we weren't dying, right? And the aim of the doctors who were running the program was for us not to die. And it was sickle cell, it was thalassemia, it was Cooley's anemia, asthma. We were all together. and they were working to keep all of us alive.
Coolies. I haven't heard I haven't heard coolies in a long time.
Yeah, so West Indian people, don't be offended, is Ooleys, not the other one. And we're not calling anybody derog, but Cooley's anemia, originating from the name originated in Italy for thalassemia. So that's actually what thalassemia major A alpha thalassemia is. And cystic fibrosis, we all grew up together. We were a family. You know, you couldn't tell us we weren't brothers and sisters because of whatever we wanted to call each other at the time. And so that's where my advocacy stems from. And my mom was an advocate. My mother was the most vocal parent in pediatrics. And so I inherited it honestly. And, you know, by a teenager, it was just a regular thing, you know. And I spent most of my youth sitting at the nurse's station in the middle of the night, because, you know, we don't sleep at night, reading the physician desk reference. And an intern walked by and he looked at what I was reading. And he says, "Do you understand that?" And before I could say anything, the nurse said, "Yes, she does." So I began to read him what I was reading and explained it to him. He was like, "Okay, well, if you need me for anything, I'll be in the residence."
Right. Right. Now, I got this. Yeah. You know, and that's so crazy because, you know, I go back, I keep telling y'all this. You understand that she just spoke so eloquently about dying, because my number was 11, but I wasn't diagnosed till I was 7 years old. So that means I only had 4 more years. And that's what drove my parents crazy, because they believed it too. And it was like when I woke up and I was actually 11 and I didn't die, I said, well, it's got to be something else. It's got to be something to this.
Imagine that.
Imagine
and
that.
yeah, but they don't understand the pressure you put families on. They're telling their people that,
Psychological and
yes,
emotional pressure that you put on the parents, and then the psychological and emotional pressure they put on the child. And what I've seen as a result of that is I have a bunch of adults that I grew up with who are disabled mentally. They don't function well on themselves. You know, without their parent, they were not really able to take care of themselves. You know, and they have lived. They I call them the Walking Dead. They didn't really live their life. You know, here I was climbing trees, racing bikes. You know, I'm gonna date myself right now saying I came up in the day of Evil Knievel. So remember the refrigerator boxes? When anytime they had new refrigerators being delivered to the building, we would take the boxes and use them as ramps. And we would put them on the benches. And behind the bench was a hedge. So the goal was to kick up enough speed to jump, you know, use the ramp to jump the bench and the hedge. And this is what I was doing when my mom was at work, you know.
But how about this? How about this? You survive that, but that stress, the metabolic part of that is that when you have a lot of stress, you make a lot of steroids, you make a lot of cortisol. You make a lot of cortisol, decrease your immune system, which will make you have more infections. You see what I'm saying? And so the body works so intricately that way. So anybody that's out there that's having stress, it's hard to, when you tell somebody stop your stress, that's like telling somebody with anorexia you're skinny. That you just can't tell them that. You can't tell, because they don't want to hear. They can't hear that right now from you. So if somebody's stressed out right now, you can't just say stop stressing. You got to give them something to help them stop the stress.
And there has never been any mental health support for this population, neither for the children and adults living with the disease, neither or the parents. And the parents especially need it because in their heads, and I came to understand this young, I did this to my child, right? And they're waiting every day for the next crisis to take us out. Do you understand what was being done to us? Now, I've since then got the doctors in New York to stop saying that. I mean, decades ago. Stop telling us we're going to die. If we die, we die. But we're not dying, we're living. We have a 91-year-old here.
right. That's so crazy because Miss Dave, that's so crazy. I'm so glad you making that statement. When you find out a baby has sickle cell disease, do not go into predicting the day or age they gonna die, because these parents just got hit with something that they're not even prepared for. Like You know, you think my parents at 20 years old knew what sickle cell disease was? No, no. So that's happening today. Because somebody right now while we're talking just found out their child has sickle cell.
But you know what we know what don't care? Because of the lack of information, they found out and they're like, whew, because at least there's a cure for that.
What?
And we know that that's all you hear on the news when sickle cell's on the news. There's a cure, but we didn't say it costs $15 million and you're going to have to take a whole bunch of other medicine and you ain't going to get a chance to get it anyway.
Hold on. Where is the cure?
First of all, my parents, your parents were here and didn't hear. My parents are immigrants. I'm first generation. No such thing in the Caribbean and in Latin America. Never heard of it, right? In Africa, in certain places, it is thought of as a curse. This child ended up with the curse from the evil and this family. You know, everything around sickle cell disease has been made negative, right? And
Right.
to add insult to injury, the very people who are supposed to care for us created this stigma of us being drug addicts, drug dependent, drug seekers, FOS, full of shit, frequent flyers, all of this stuff, right?
Oh, well, hold on.
How are
raise
you
my hand.
in health?
Yeah.
How are you in health? Went to medical school, went to nursing school, studied biology, chemistry, anatomy, and physiology, and do not understand the pathophysiology of sickle cell disease. What is the nature of this illness? This is our blood. So everywhere our blood flows is a complication. I've had a doctor, you know, I'm sitting in the room, she's talking to a resident, say, there's no such thing as the pain traveling. I said, excuse me? I said, oh, yes, it is. It will travel. It'll start here, and before you know it, it'll, you know, from your ankles, from your shoulders to your ankles.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't work that way. I said, do you have this disease? I'm trying to teach, and I adore this doctor. She's brilliant. She goes, I'm trying to teach him. I said, I'm trying to teach you and them. You're not living with this disease. You cannot make that kind of statement. This is the thing that injures us, right? How by the time we turned 15, we went at birth to 14, as these poor children suffering. At 15, you already a drug seeker. Something must be going on, so they always in here. This is the nature, the pathophysiology of this disorder. We can't control it. Well, we can to some extent, depending on which variant you have. Now, and I also want to clear up this thing about beta-thalassemia, SC disease, and some of the other rarer sickle cell syndrome that's being mild. That pain is not mild. Don't care what kind of sickle cell we have. We may not have crises as often, but what we're suffering from is hemolytic anemia, damage in silence, right? We don't feel the pain, but we still developing retinopathy. We're still developing avascular necrosis. We're still developing acute chest syndrome, right? Ischemic kidney damage because of the severe anemia, made worse by some of the things that are put in place to make it supposed to fix us.
Right.
Pain medication, antibiotics, all of them cause extrinsic hemolytic anemia. So if you already anemic and the medication that you rely on to be just a little better is also causing a complication that is going to develop an organ damage, why is there no understanding and empathy for this?
Yeah.
Dr. Hebert, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, well, the big issue with this is that right now there is a lack of knowledge in the medical community. When I went to medical school, we were not even taught that sickle cell trait could cause death. We were taught that hemoglobin SS is a severe form. We were taught that hemoglobin SC is not a severe form, and that's just the way it is. We were taught that the medicine that you just give these certain medicines, and it doesn't really matter, you know, if the side effect profiles are high, because they ain't gonna live long anyway. And they told me that, and I'm black. So you can imagine when I wasn't in the room what they used to say, right? So the point is that using all this angst, all this anger that you have as a sickle cell patient, it propels you to be an activist. It propels you to be an advocate, and that's what you are, Ginger. And so the issue, like, you have a CBO. I was just on a podcast with your CBO the other day. I mean, y'all go hard. Y'all go hard with that.
You know, he walked in on me kind of squawking about a requirement that I thought was,
Mhm.
I have to find the right word because I actually, and he said it too, I respect the company. I respect the people in the company. I respect their work and I support it. However, draconian. Some of the guidelines and requirements for us to participate in clinical trials, like 2 VOCs a year. Some of us are not having VOCs. I was 37 years crisis free, didn't prevent damage from happening. I got 2 crises under the wire because of an environment that I was in that triggered crisis. Right, is the
Right.
only reason I was able to get on a clinical trial because I've always wanted to be one. I don't know about everybody else, but I've always wanted to do it. And two things, doctors around me like, no, not you. They didn't want me exposing myself because I guess of my position in the community. They wanted to know that I was going to be okay and all right. But I'm like, if
Mhm.
you don't want me to do it, how can I recommend to other people to do it?
That's right.
Second thing was, um, this requirement of VOCs. There's a third of our population that doesn't have crisis, but they have hemolytic anemia. I fall in that category. But I had it because I was at a convention and it wasn't cold, it was a sub-zero refrigerator. So it triggered in a 3 day space two crises. And I called my doctor immediately to report and say I just had 2 crises, put it on the books because I'm getting on this trial, and I was able to do that.
Right.
And it has been a wonderful experience. And I mean, there's been some down days, like the blood draws. The blood draws can be difficult, particularly in the beginning, because it's like 9 tubes. Then it goes down to 3 for the most of the time. And then when you get to another stage, it goes back up to 9. And
Right.
on those days, trying to find a vein and them having to stick you more than 3 times and them panicking. And I'm like, listen, I
You
signed
know,
on for this and you're
but
going to do
Ginger,
this.
can I ask you this, Ginger? Do you find this funny just when you're in the hospital sometimes? Don't you've been in the hospital so many times throughout your life, and the nurse comes in and tells you, "Hold on, this may hurt." That 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 prick.
Wait,
Why don't
look,
you try this sickle cell?
look, this butterfly. You mean this butterfly? They're going to use a
Yeah.
25 gauge butterfly.
I got one better than that, guys. Y'all are men, so you will not know this. Childbirth. I went
Oh,
into L&D. My daughter, she did try to work me, you know. I says, but this is nothing compared to a sickle cell crisis. With my son, I slept
well, you
through
know what? I
my
have to take your
whole
word on
labor.
it. That came from a
My
woman. I didn't
contraction
say
was
anything.
nothing. You know, when I woke up, when he kicked and broke my water, and I'm like, yes, he's about to come out. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
my water broke. And the nurse runs into the room, and she's like, shh, Miss Davis, you quiet. I said, if them women can scream and holler because they in so-called pain, why can't I scream and holler out of joy? I'm about to drop
Ginger,
this 8-pound, 5 ounce
Ginger,
load.
yeah, listen,
Yeah.
if men had to have babies, the world would be over. I'm gonna tell you
What
that
would
right
be barren, right? Would be
now.
no
Right.
Right.
baby. Let me
No,
tell
there ain't
you,
no way in
that
the world.
birth is the head and the
Ain't no
shoulders.
way in the world, Miss
After
Davis.
they pass, then you don't even remember your pregnancy after that. But I'm telling you, nothing compares to sickle cell crisis, and people who, God bless them, have never felt this pain and will never feel this pain, could never
Yeah.
understand. And here's the double-edged sword for the doctors, the nurses, the researchers, all working on our behalf to develop disease modifying medications, cell and gene therapies that are disease modifying and curative. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's about time. Thank you, right? But also keep this in mind. What you're looking at under a microscope, on a slide, what you're reading in a book, what you may experience as a physician on the other side of this, trying to do your best for us, you will never know what this is like. When I started hearing this word centricity, and I had to get in, what does this mean? I went to DC to participate in a conference to speak about centricity, equity, and inclusion. Centricity says from the beginning of the design of a trial, you include the individual with the disease, the caregiver, the doctors, the nurse, the advocates, and then your team, right? Your R&D team. And you design that trial around how it's really going to benefit the individual, the end user, for your product, your device, your cell and gene therapy. I've seen so many things come to market that were not centristic at all. right? And I'm not going to call any companies out right now, and I've told their executives this was not centristic at all, right? For you to put a demand that we have to do this before we can get that, why are you making our opportunities for disease modification and cure a mandatory anything? There should be no barricades, no blocks. How is that centristic? How is that equitable? How is that going to give full access? Healthy people are not thinking about that. We're taking all of this in. Then you wonder why there's so much anger in our community. Why you wonder you cannot completely fill your quota, right? Why, when you get to stage, 3 going into 4, it fails because you didn't have enough people, because you're not centristic, right? Because there isn't equity. So, and I'm gonna just say it: hydroxyurea is not a standard of care for sickle cell disease. Almost 30 years, if not 30 years already. 80% of this population has told you repeatedly for almost 30 years we don't want it. 20% of our population does not make a standard. 20% in any clinical trial where the patient doesn't respond or not working is a cohort that you'll have to spend time figuring out what's wrong here. How can we improve it? NIH shut down their one of their gene therapy research because they were getting 50%. 50% wasn't good enough for them. They wanted to get it to 80. If you haven't gotten 80% of the sickle cell population eligible to use hydroxyurea over 30 years to use it, how y'all keep cramming this nonsense that this is a standard of care and saying that we can't participate unless we take it and fail on it? Doctors don't even know when patients start taking the medication because they're not even following their patients properly outside of pediatrics.
Well, I had to, I had to light it up the other day, and I kind of stepped on a few toes. Tried to step them back, but
We both did. I stepped on them before you did. You came and stepped on smashed toes.
yeah, because I saw. Oh, I heard you step on them. I heard you step on them. That's why I had to get the book.
What I was targeting was a decision to make that a criteria. It's draconian because we don't want it. And then when we're in the hospitals with our community health workers, with our community advisory boards, with our community support groups, we're not hearing the doctors and the nurses say there's these medications. We're not hearing them say there's these clinical trials. In one of my CAB meetings, I had a parent yell out, "Why aren't you telling us about the clinical trials?" And I'm like, yeah, why aren't you? Is it because it's not at your hospital? That's not the point. Our organization are in two, not one, two ASH clinical trial networks. How is this information being disseminated to the community if we're not telling them? We don't have money for paid advertising, right? We just scratching by, but we're paying a marketer and we do our best. But you know what our people don't do? They don't read. We set an article out and we see they're not reading the article. So what do we turn around and do? We take key points out of those articles about clinical trials, about the new medications. We'll make multi-memes and we'll put the key points in there and put it in the video and then watch that. And then we'll bring the companies in for community connections, for the community, and then for lunch and learn for the healthcare providers and educators, because we reach out to colleges too, to provide in this on-ramp presentation about medications, cell and gene therapies, because we want the students in those colleges to get the right information and to have more information than they will ever get in their 8 to 10 years studying, right? Every time I talk to a group of residents, they say I give them more information in 15 minutes than they got in 2 years.
True.
Well,
So-
Dr. Hebert said that. He said that. He said it in middle school. It's like you say, hello. That was sickle cell.
That was it.
That's
And I was
it.
a biology student with intention to go to pre-med, so I know exactly what Corey is talking about. I have done rotation in hospitals, in emergency rooms. I have worked on the floors on grants. And I've seen it all from both sides, as a patient and as a healthcare professional. And I'm now going to turn and point the finger to us. We as a community are not doing what we're doing. HIV/AIDS was, when I talked about, slandered and battered and hated, and look at it now. But those people did not stop talking. Everybody with HIV, well, not everybody. The friends and supporters with people who had HIV, their community stood up for them, right? And Sickle cell doesn't discriminate, just like HIV didn't discriminate. We have actors, we have athletes, we have legislators, right? With sickle cell trait, with sickle cell disease, with children with disease. Where are they? Where are these people? Right now, starting on Monday, there's a blood drive for a week to commemorate hip hop, 50 years of hip hop. Not one of those hip hop artists would come and talk about the importance of donating blood. I'm calling y'all out, and especially the few that I know that they did ask, and one who does know me very well may not remember that I have sickle cell disease. Yeah, then no. So now I'm scrambling to get New York based artists who I would love to give the opportunity to be in the news and giving them the opportunity to come and speak for sickle cell disease and to speak for the importance of Black and brown people donating blood, because we have a population of transfusion dependent sickle cell and thalassemia, beta thalassemia, who are getting Caucasian blood and developing an alloimmunization or antibodies because the donors are not genetically matched. White folks show up in mass to donate. We do not. And we got all excuses in the world, but the moment it hits you or a member of your family, then you looking for somebody to donate. You're running around your neighborhood trying to find somebody to be a match to donate for you. But at the time that you had the opportunity to donate, you don't do it. And you know what? Churches, bad response. Going out to public and adults, bad response. You know who are donating at 50 pints or more per drive? Our children. We go into high schools. That's where we get our blood from Indian, Asian, Black, Latino students. They're the ones. God bless all of y'all. Heroes donate blood. Our children, our young people are doing it, not the adults. And so I'm putting it out there. All you artists that are going to be showing up at this concert in the Bronx, right? Monday at the Bronx State Office building. The Bronx Borough Hall, I believe it is. There's a drive, and you were asked to come out and say a few words about the importance of being blood donors. Please do it. I'll find somebody if you don't show up, but I am going to call y'all out at this event because
Wow, I am.
this affects your people.
Woo! I have learned so much from you today, Miss Ginger.
Right.
I promise you, that smile had been gone for 10 minutes. I just had to let you go because I have a whole card of questions. Don't even need them. I ask one. Do it. Because you have gone across everything I was going to ask you, you've covered it. Because I'm going to ask you this, Miss Ginger, and I always like to see your perspective before we get out of here. Like, what is something that you would like the sickle cell community to know how Miss Ginger feel about the future?
I want y'all to speak up and speak out. We have to start talking about sickle cell. There is no shame. If you are not ashamed of the genetic recombination of the color of your hair, your complexion, your height, you know, how bushy your eyebrows may be or not, then you can't be ashamed of the genetic recombination of centuries passing down sickle cell trait to sickle cell disease. You can't be ashamed of that. That's part of you, who you are. We're not sicklers, right?
Right.
We are individuals living with sickle cell disease and surviving a whole hell of a lot of trauma that most people will never understand, right?
Ooh.
We need to come together. We need to stop living as we put ourselves in silos. Get out of the damn silo. You put yourself in. You're not going through this by yourself. You're not going to come into a support group meeting and only hear complaints. We are solution-oriented people. We are action-oriented people. We are teaching people how to advocate and educate politically, to go out and talk to their legislators. We take people to Albany. We take people to Washington, D.C., right? We are trying to raise money so we can send people from the community to go to different conferences so they can hear and see what's going on and be part of the solution for the future. We're trying to do mentorship and developing our future leaders. I'm not going to be doing this forever. I will not sit in this seat for 35 years as president of this organization. I gave him 2 terms. And I'm every day looking for who's going to come up next and run this organization. And it's not going to be me leaving. It's going to be 4 people leaving because we've been doing this for over 30 years. There's other things that I want to address. And honestly, I want to address sickle cell disease, beta thalassemia internationally. I need time to do that. And I cannot feel bad about walking away when I say I'm going to walk away, because I'm not so arrogant to think that I'm the only one who can do this. So I'm asking the community, y'all get involved. Do not start another organization. We don't need that. There are organizations in your community. Go to the ones that are existing because they need people. They need your energy. They need your time. They need your expertise. They need your willing to learn how to do things to help us grow, to become sustainable, and to be able to enlarge our abilities to serve our community. And I want to speak to sickle cell trait too. Y'all need to come out. If you know you have a trait and don't know which one, ask your doctor to take the test and learn. We need to get genetic counseling happen. We need to have planned parenting happening. And men, because y'all don't go to the doctor, and I've seen it one and heard it one time too many. The woman gets identified during pregnancy, or the child is born now. Newborn screening is identifying the child with trait or disease, and the first thing he says, "Not me. That's not in my family." This doesn't say, "Hello, here, hi, I'm sickle cell trait. I'm in you." It's passed down.
Right.
And if you are not amongst the trait population that has over 40% sickling, you may not feel the effects of sickle cell trait, but there are a lot of people who are symptomatic with sickle cell trait, and they're being told everything other than it's your sickle cell trait, and they are not being given the proper care that they need. And I want to let y'all know that there is a thing called open label, not open label extension, but compassionate use, that your doctor can actually recommend the approved medications if you qualify, like Endari, for you to
Yes.
take that to be better. And let me tell you, Endari works. I don't hear doctors prescribing it or promoting it because everybody's looking for it to raise the hemoglobin. Endari does that incrementally because it takes inflammation
Yeah.
out, it reduces pain incident, it
Hey,
protects
Ginger.
your cells,
Ginger.
so your
You know
cells
what? You know what else is on Endari?
well,
Me.
Yeah.
3 weeks I
Having a
know
great life.
3 weeks I felt the difference. The fatigue is
Yes.
gone, the acid reflux, the
Yes.
joint pains and soreness takes all it
Hmm.
because it gets rid of inflammation. Inflammation causes pain. Inflammation
Mhm.
Yeah.
causes fatigue. It causes migraine headaches. I used to have 3-day migraine headaches. It start on Friday, end on Sunday.
I mean,
I
look,
don't have
we know,
that
look,
anymore.
at this point, we know that oxidative stress causes a lot of symptoms and causes sickling. And we
Right.
know that Endari decreases the oxidative stress for therefore it's L-glutamine and it's in the body. So we know that. So if your doctor, and this is something that's really important, if you're listening right now and you have never heard of Endari, then you need to ask your doctor. And your doctor says, I don't know, then you need to go a little further and Google it and go to the Endari website because it's something that it's just it's a medicine out there. It needs a prescription, but the issue is that it does decrease your risk of acute chest syndrome and it decreases your hospitalization. It increases
It,
your quality of life, and that's what I think is very
Yeah.
important. You can
it
see,
does.
Improve quality of life.
Kier and Ginger are both on it. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
great.
if you can't, I mean, listen, call SCTPN 347-533-8485 and speak to one of our community health workers. I'm going to say it again, 347-533-8485. Skype, WhatsApp, regular
Yeah.
I don't care where you are in the world, you got a question, you need help, call us because we're
we'll put
Yeah.
that
international.
in the link. We'll put
We
that
got it.
in the link in the bottom at the
Yeah.
bottom so
We'll
people
put it
can
in
do that.
there.
And our
Yep.
Well.
website is sctpn.net, an acronym for the name Sickle Cell Thalassemia Patients Network, sctpn.net. We're in the process of revamping our website, but you can still contact us. You can see what we do. We have a scholarship program for vocational and academic scholarship for undergrads. We do care coordination. We do transitions. We advocate. We do political work. We're out there. We've been working hard, but I want to go beyond the working hard. We're trying to work smarter now. We're implementing AI. We're doing all kinds of things. But what I want to see is our ability to grow to help more people. We're now statewide in New York through affiliates and chapters. We are in Belize, Gambia, and Uganda, and they do amazing work with no resource. I mean, a little $500 that we can give them makes a difference to what they're able to do. And they're doing these things out of their pocket. In Gambia, the president also has sickle cell. And as much as he wants to, he gets tired and wants to give up. Every time he gets a call, an email, anything, he is impelled, not compelled, but impelled to help. So we continue to do this because as long as children are being born into this life of pain, as long as there are families struggling with this disease, we are here. But we need your help. We need people who are not impacted by sickle cell disease to help. Y'all are out there, you're looking for something to do, come get involved with us. And I promise you, once you meet our community, you will fall in love, and you're not gonna go anywhere. You're gonna be here for the long haul. But we need people to get involved with this. We need media. So I'm thanking you again, Kier. It's been far too long since you and I have spoken and seen each other. So let's make this a regular. And there'll be less and more fun stuff later. But we need more media. We need to be on the news, daytime, prime time. We need to be on radio. We need to be in the newspaper. We have asked people in the media, can y'all get some of your colleagues together and help us with our media concern, so that we can constantly be putting out newsworthy information. Media will not come and cover our stuff. I was told by one editor, unless everybody drops dead in your event, then you'll have, in the first row, then you'll have media for life. That should not be the reason. We are newsworthy, and there's newsworthy things happening right now in research for Aldi, but we don't get. And for all of the celebrities, with sickle cell trait, with the disease, who are hiding, with all of the athletes who are quiet. And I understand that NFL is using it as a sort of Damocles against you. But if those other white players can come out and talk about cystic fibrosis, if y'all can put on red, our color, for cancer the whole month of October, but miss the whole month of September for Sickle Cell Awareness Month and not promote sickle cell, I got an issue with y'all. Listen, I will go to the NFL office with you and say, hey, we need y'all to support sickle cell, because, as a matter of fact, I stopped watching football, and that was my game. I stopped because we don't get the support we need. And I know there are over 100
Yes,
men
ma'am.
in that game with trait who are forced not to speak about it. I'm calling
I
everybody out
love it.
today. That's Corey's fault.
Yep.
I love it. I love it.
But I
Well,
love
thank you
y'all.
so
I love you.
much, Miss
Thank you so
Ginger.
much, Kier. Thank you so
I
much,
appreciate you
Corey.
coming on here and telling your story.
For sure.
And I swear to God, you know what? You called out just about everybody.
Everybody,
I was
everybody.
not expecting that.
Pastor
No,
would say.
you
Everybody.
called out
That's
everybody.
dressed them down. She
Yeah,
dressed them down.
she dressed her down, man. We
No,
thank
I
you so
want
much,
people to
Jim.
be accountable. We got to be accountable. I hold myself accountable when I'm wrong. When I do something that offends somebody, I said, I'm sorry. I apologize. My staff will tell you, I will apologize. My ego has to get out of the way. I can be a very arrogant person. It's easy. But I keep that in check because I'm not here for me. I get what I want. I do not identify with anybody who can't get what they want. I'm here as an advocate to speak for everybody else who is suffering in silence. So I'm loud and I'm calling folks out, and I'm holding people accountable because we are dying in silence. And I can't continue. And we're dying young. We already have a 19, 23, 24, 25-year-old in the last 2 years because of the ignorance, because of the lack of public education, because of the lack of medical education. Our young people are deciding they want to go to another state or go away to college, and they're coming home in palm boxes. I cannot abide by that. And we need help.
Miss Ginger, we had to go, but thank you so much because you have really done a great job. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Miss Ginger Davis on Living Your Life podcast. Thank you so much, Ginger. Absolutely outstanding job. We love you.
Peace, G.